Devaya Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Ummāgnānatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmīlitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Udapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrijatam Sagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Visakanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prisabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhupya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashattaya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Haribol. So today we continue chapter 2, Mastering the Mind and Senses, from the book The Path of Perfection. Yam sanyasam iti prahur yogam tam vitti pandava nahyasanyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kaschana. What is called renunciation is the same as yoga, or linking oneself with the Supreme, for one can become a yogi. For no one can become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. Bhagavad Gita 6:2. This is the real purpose of the practice of yoga. The word yoga means to join, although we are naturally part and parcel of the Supreme. Although we are naturally part and parcel of the Supreme, in our conditioned state we are now separated. Because of our separation, we are reluctant to understand God and to speak of our relationship with Him, and are even inclined to think of such discussion as a waste of time. In a church or in a Krishna conscious temple, we speak of God, but people in general are not very interested. They think it as a waste of time, some kind of recreation in the name of spiritual advancement, and they believe that this time could be better used to earn money or enjoy themselves in a nightclub or restaurant. Therefore, it is due to sense enjoyment that we are not attracted to God, and therefore they say that those who are addicted to sense enjoyment cannot become yogis. That is, they are not eligible to participate in the yoga system. One cannot advance in any yoga system if he partakes in sense gratification and then sits down to try to meditate. This is just colossal hoax. Such contradiction activity has no meaning. First of all, yoga means controlling the senses, yama niyama. There are 8 stages of yoga: yama, niyama, asana, dhyana, dharana, pranayama, pratyahara, and samadhi. In this 6th chapter, in which the Lord speaks of the Sankhya Yoga system, he states from the very beginning that one cannot become a yogi unless one renounces the desire for sense gratification. Therefore, if one indulges his senses, he cannot be accepted as a yogi. Yoga demands strict celibacy. In the yoga system, there is no sex life. If one indulges in sex, he cannot become a yogi. Many so-called yogis come from India to America and say, yes, you can do whatever you like. You can have as much sex as you like. Just meditate. I will give you some mantra and you will give me some money. This is all nonsense. According to the authoritative statements of Sri Krishna, one cannot become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. This is explicitly stated as the first condition for yoga practice. Arurukshor muner yogam karma karanamuchyate yogarudasya tasyaiva samah karanamuchyate. For one who is a neophyte in the Eightfold Yoga system, work is said to be the means, and for one who has already attained to yoga, cessation of all material activity is said to be the means. Bhagavad Gita 6.3. According to this verse, there are those who are attempting to reach the perfectional stage and those who have already attained that stage. As long as one is not situated on the perfectional platform, he must engage in so many works. In the West, there are many yoga societies attempting to practice the asana system, and therefore they practice sitting in different postures. That may help, but it is only a process by which one can attain the real platform. The real yoga system is in its perfectional stage, is far different from these bodily gymnastics. It is important to understand, however, that from the beginning, a Krishna conscious person is situated on the platform of meditation because he is always thinking of Krishna. Being constantly engaged in the service of Krishna, he is considered to have ceased all material activities. Yada hinedriyarthyesu na karmasvanusajjate sarva sankalpa sannyasi yogarudastadochyate. A person is said to have attained yoga when renounced all material desires. He neither acts for sense gratification nor engages in fruitive activities. Bhagavad Gita 6.4. This is actually the perfectional stage of yoga, and one who has attained this stage is said to have attained to yoga. This is to say that he has connected, jointed, or linked himself with the Supreme Whole. If a part is disconnected from a machine, it serves no function. But as soon as it's properly attached to the machine, it works properly and carries out its different functions. That is the meaning of yoga, joining with the Supreme Whole, serving in conjugation with the total machine. Presently, we are disconnected, and our material fruitive activities are simply a waste of time. One who engages in such activities is described in Bhagavad Gita as a muda, that is, a rascal. Although one may earn thousands of dollars daily and be an important businessman, he is described in Bhagavad Gita as muda, rascal, because he's just wasting his time in eating, sleeping, defending, and mating. People do not stop to consider that they are actually working very hard for nothing. One who earns millions of dollars cannot really eat much more than a man who makes $10. A man who earns millions of dollars cannot mate with millions of women. That is not within his power. His mating power is the same as one who earns $10, just as his power of eating is the same. This is to say that our power of enjoyment is limited. One should therefore think, my enjoyment is the same as that of the man who is earning $10 daily. So why am I working so hard to earn millions of dollars? Why am I wasting my energy? I should engage my time and energy in understanding God. That is the purpose of life. If one has no economic problems, he has sufficient time to understand Krishna consciousness. If he wastes this precious time, he is called muda, a rascal, or an ass. According to the preceding verse, a person is said to have attained yoga when he has renounced all material desires. Once we are situated perfectly in yoga, we are satisfied. We no longer experience material desires. We no longer act for sense gratification or engage in fruitive activity. When we speak of fruitive activity, we refer to activities carried out for the purpose of sense gratification. That is, we are earning money in order to gratify our senses. If one is virtuous, he engages in pious activities. He donates money to charities, opens hospitals, schools, etc. Although these are certainly virtuous activities, they are ultimately meant for sense gratification. How is that? How is this? If I donate to an educational institution, for instance, I will receive good educational facilities and will become highly educated in my next life. Being thus educated, I will attain a good position and will acquire a good amount of money. Then how will I utilize this money? For sense gratification. Thus these virtuous and fruitive activities form a kind of cycle. We often hear the expression, a better standard of life. But what does that mean? It is said that the standard of life in America is superior to that in India. But in both countries, there is eating, sleeping, defending, and mating. Of course, in America, the quality of food may be better, but maybe it was that time, but now it's horrible. But the eating process is there. A superior standard of life does not mean superior spiritual realization. It just means better eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. That is called fruitive activity, and it is based on sense gratification. Yoga has nothing to do with sense gratification or fruitive activity. Yoga means connecting with the Supreme. Dhruva Maharaj underwent severe austerities in order to see God, and when he finally saw God, he said, "Swamin kratartosmin varam nayache." My dear Lord, I am now fully satisfied. I am not asking for you anything more. I do not want any further benediction from you. Why didn't Dhruva Maharaj ask for benedictions? What is a benediction? Generally, benediction means receiving a great kingdom, a beautiful wife, palatable food, and so forth. But when one is actually connected with God, he does not want such benedictions. He is fully satisfied. Swamin kritatosmin varam nayache. Actually, Dhruva Maharaj initially searched for God in order to attain his father's kingdom. Dhruva Maharaj's mother was rejected by his father, and his stepmother resented his sitting on his father's lap. Indeed, she forbade him to sit on his father's lap because Dhruva Maharaj was not born in her womb. Although only 5 years old, Dhruva Maharaj was a Kshatriya, and he took this as a great insult. Going to his own mother, he said, "Mother, my stepmother has insulted me by forbidding me to sit on my father's lap." Dhruva Maharaj then started to cry, and his mother said, "My dear boy, what can I do? Your father loves your stepmother more than he loves me. I can do nothing." Dhruva Maharaj then said, "But I want my father's kingdom. Tell me how I can get it." "My dear boy," his mother said, "if Krishna, God, blesses you, you can get it." "Where is God?" Dhruva Maharaj asked. "Oh, it is said that God is in the forest," his mother said. "Great sages go to the forest to search for God." Hearing this, Dhruva Maharaj went directly to the forest and began to perform severe penances. Finally, he saw God, and when he saw him, he no longer desired his father's kingdom. Instead, he said, "My dear Lord, I was searching for some pebbles, but instead I found the valuable jewels. I no longer care for my father's kingdom. Now I am fully satisfied." When one is actually connected with God, he is totally satisfied. His satisfaction is infinitely greater than so-called enjoyment in this material world. That is the satisfaction resulting from God realization, and that is the perfection of yoga. When a person is fully engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, he is pleased in himself, and thus he is no longer engaged in sense gratification or in fruitive activities. Otherwise, one must be engaged in sense gratification, since one cannot live without engagement. It is impossible to cease all activity. As stated before, it is our nature as living entities to act. It is it is said, it is what? It is said, an idle mind is the devil's workshop. Okay, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Who wants to continue reading from here, if we have no Krishna conscious engagement? Pranjal Prabhu, Sujay Prabhu, or Santa Maria Prabhu.
Prabhu, Actually, I'm on night, so I think the location is much more. That will be hard for me to read.
Hare Krishna is Prabhu. Okay, I can read also. If we have no Krishna conscious engagement, we will engage in sense gratification or fruitive activity. If a child is not trained or educated, he becomes spoiled. If one does not practice the yoga system, if he does not attempt to control his senses by the yoga process, he will engage his senses in their own gratification. When one is gratifying his senses, there is no question of practicing yoga. Without Krishna consciousness, one must be always seeking self-centered or extended selfish activities. But a Krishna conscious person can do everything for the satisfaction of Krishna and thereby be perfectly detached from sense gratification. One who has not realized Krishna must mechanically try to escape material desires before being elevated to the top rung of the yoga ladder. One may compare the yoga system to a step ladder. One yogi may be situated on the fifth step, another yogi may be on the 50th step, and yet another on the 500th step. The purpose, of course, is to reach the top. Although the entire ladder may be called the yoga system, one who is on the fifth step is not equal to one who is higher up. In Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna delineates a number of yoga systems: Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. All of these systems are connected with God Krishna, just as the entire ladder is connected to the topmost floor. This is not to say that everyone practicing the yoga system is situated on the topmost floor. Only he who is in full Krishna consciousness is so situated. Others are situated on different steps of the yogic ladder. Uddaret atmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaivyat atmaivahyat mano bandhu atmaivari puratmana. A man must elevate himself by his own mind, not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. Bhagavad Gita 6:5. The word Atma denotes body and mind and soul, depending on different circumstances. In the yoga system, the mind and the conditioned soul are especially important, since the mind is the central point of yoga practice. Atma refers here to the mind. The purpose of the yoga system is to control the mind and to draw it away from attachment to sense objects. It is stressed herein that the mind must be so trained that it can deliver the conditioned soul from the mere omniscience. In the Ashtanga Yoga system, these eightfold yogas, dhyana, dharana, etc., are meant to control the mind. Sri Krishna explicitly states that a man must utilize his mind to elevate himself. Unless one can control the mind, there is no question of elevation. The body is like a chariot, and the mind is the driver. If you tell your driver, please take me to Krishna temple, the driver will take you there. But if you tell him, please take me to the liquor house, you will go there. It is the driver's business to take you wherever you like. If you can control the driver, he will take you where you should go. But if not, he will ultimately take you wherever he likes. If you have no control over your driver is your enemy. But if he acts according to your orders, he is your friend. The yoga system is meant to control the mind in such a way that the mind will act as your friend. Sometimes the mind acts as a friend and sometimes as an enemy. Because we are part and parcel of the Supreme who has infinite independence, we have minute or finite independence. It is the mind that is controlling that independence, and therefore he may either take us to Krishna temple or to some nightclub. It is the purpose of this Krishna conscious movement to fix the mind on Krishna. When the mind is so fixed, he cannot do anything but act as our friend. He has no scope to act any other way. As soon as Krishna is seated in the mind, there is light just as when the sun is in the sky. Darkness is vanquished. Krishna is just like the sun, and when he is present, there is no scope of darkness. If we keep Krishna on our mind, the darkness of Maya will never be able to enter. Keeping the mind fixed on Krishna is the perfection of yoga. If the mind is strongly fixed on the Supreme, it will not allow any nonsense to enter, and there will be no fall down. If the mind is strong, the driver is strong, and we may go wherever we may desire. The entire yoga system is meant to make the mind strong, to make it incapable of deviating from the Supreme. Savai Manah Krishna Padaravindayo. One should fix his mind on Krishna, just as Ambarish Maharaj did when he had a fight with a great Astanga yogi named Durvasa Muni. Since Ambarish Maharaj was a householder, he was pound shilling man. This means that he had to take into account pounds, shillings, and sixpence, or dollars and cents. Apart from being a householder, Maharaj Ambarish was also a great king and devotee. Durvasa Muni was a great yogi who happened to be very envious of Maharaj Ambarish. Durvasa Muni was thinking, I am a great yogi and I can travel in space. This man is an ordinary king and he does not possess such yogic powers. Still, people pay him more honor. Why is this? I will teach him a good lesson. Durvasa Muni then proceeded to pick a quarrel with Maharaj Ambarish, but because the king was always thinking of Krishna, he managed to defeat this great yogi. Durvasa Muni was consequently directed by Narayana to take shelter at the feet of Maharaj Ambarish. Durvasa Muni was such a perfect yogi that within a year he could travel through the material universe and also penetrate the spiritual universe. Indeed, he went directly to the abode of God, Vaikuntha, and saw the personality of God himself. Yet Durvasa Muni was so weak that he had to return to earth and fall at the feet of Maharaj Ambarish. Maharaj Ambarish was an ordinary king, but his one great qualification was that he was always thinking of Krishna. Thus his mind was always controlled. And he was situated at the highest perfectional level of yoga. We also can very easily control the mind by keeping it fixed on the lotus feet of Krishna, Krishna within. Simply by thinking of Krishna, we become victorious, conquerors, topmost yogis. Yoga Indriya Samyamaha. The yoga system is meant to control the senses, and since the mind is above the senses, if we can control the mind, our senses are automatically controlled. The tongue may want to eat something improper, but if the mind is strong, it can say, no, you cannot eat this. You can only eat Krishna Prasad. In this way, the tongue, as well as all the other senses, can be controlled by the mind. Indriyani paranyahur indriyebhyaha paramana. The material body consists of the senses, and consequently the body's activities are sensual activities. However, above the senses is the mind, and above the mind is the intelligence, and above the intelligence is the spirit soul. If one is on the spiritual platform, his intelligence, mind, and senses are all spiritualized. The purpose of this Krishna consciousness process is to actualize the spiritualization of senses, mind, and intelligence. The spirit soul is superior to all, but because he is sleeping, he has given power of attorney to the fickle mind. However, when the soul is awakened, he is once again master, and the servile mind cannot act improperly. Once we are awakened in Krishna consciousness, the intelligence, mind, and senses cannot act nonsensically. They must act in accordance with the dictations of the spirit soul. That is spiritualization and purification. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchate. We must serve the master of the senses with the senses. The Supreme Lord is called Rishikesha, which means that he is the original controller of the senses. Just as a king is the original controller of all activities of a state, and the citizens are secondary controllers. Bhakti means acting spiritual in accordance with the desires of Rishikesha. How can we act? Since we must act with our senses, we must spiritualize our senses in order to act properly. As stated before, sitting in silent meditation means stopping undesirable activity, but acting in Krishna consciousness is transcendental. The cessation of nonsensical action is not in itself perfection. We must act perfectly. Unless we train our senses to act in accordance with Rishikesha, the master of the senses, our senses will again engage in undesirable activities, and we will fall down. Therefore, we must engage the senses in the action for Krishna, and in this way remain firmly fixed in Krishna consciousness. In material existence, one is subjected to the influence of the mind and the senses. In fact, the pure soul is entangled in the material world because of the mind's ego, which desires to lord it over material nature. Therefore, the mind should be trained so that it will not be attracted by the glitter of material nature, and in this way the conditioned soul may be saved. One should not degrade oneself by attraction to sense objects. The more one is attracted by sense objects, the more one becomes entangled in the material existence. The best way to disentangle oneself is to always engage the mind in Krishna consciousness. The word he in verse 5, chapter 6, Bhagavad Gita, is used to emphasize this point, namely, that one must do this. It is also said, Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandhamokshayo bandaya vishaya sangi muktaib nirvishayam mana. For man, mind is the cause of bondage, and mind is the cause of liberation. Mind absorbed in sense objects is the cause of bondage, and mind detached from sense objects is the cause of liberation. Vishnu Purana 6.7.28. Hare Krishna. Yes, Pranjal Prabhu. What happened? Okay. The mind which is always engaged in Krishna consciousness is the cause of supreme liberation. When the mind is thus engaged in Krishna consciousness, there is no chance of its being engaged in Maya consciousness. In Krishna consciousness, we remain in the sunlight, and there is no chance of our being obscured by darkness. Because we have freedom or liberty, we can stay within a dark room or go out into the broad daylight. That is our choice. Darkness can be eradicated by light, but light cannot be covered by darkness. If we are in a dark room and someone brings a lamp, the darkness is vanquished, but we cannot take the darkness into the sunlight. It is not possible. The darkness will simply fade away. Krishna Surya Sama Maya Haya Andakara. Krishna is the sunlight, and Maya is like darkness. How can darkness exist in the sunlight? If we always keep ourselves in the sunlight, darkness will fail to act upon us. This is the whole philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Always engage in Krishna consciousness activities, and Maya will be dissipated, just as darkness is dissipated when there is light. This is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 174. Bhakti yogena manasi samyak pranihite male apasyat purusham purnam mayam chatat apasrayam. When the sage Vyasadeva, under the instruction of the spiritual master Narada, fixed his mind, perfectly engaging in it by linking in devotional service, bhakti yoga, without any tinge of materialism, Vyasadeva saw the Supreme Person of Godhead along with his external energy, which was under full control. The word manasi refers to mind. When one is enlightened in bhakti yoga, the mind becomes completely free from all contamination. Samyak paranehite male. When Vyasa saw the Supreme Person of Godhead, he saw Maya in the background. Mayam chatat apasrayam. Whenever there is light, there is also the possibility of darkness being present. That is, darkness is the other side of light, or darkness is under the side of light. Just as if I hold my hand up to the light, the top part of my hand will be in light, and the bottom part will be shaded. In other words, one side is light and the other is darkness. When Vyasadeva saw Krishna, the Supreme Lord, he also saw Maya, darkness, under his shelter. And what is this Maya? This is explained in the next verse of 175, Srimad Bhagavatam. Yaya sammohito jiva atmanam trigunatmakam paropi manuyate nartam manute nartam tatkritam chabipatyate. Due to the external energy, the living entity, although transcendental to the three modes of material nature, thinks of himself as a material product and thus undergoes the reactions of material miseries. Thus, the illusionary energy has temporarily covered the conditioned souls. And who are these conditioned souls? Although finite, the conditioned spirit souls are as full of light as Krishna. The problem is that the conditioned soul identifies himself with this material world. This is called illusion, false identification with matter. Although the individual spirit soul is transcendental, he engages in improper activities under the dictation of Maya, and this brings about this conditioning or false identification. This is very elaborately explained in the seventh chapter, first canto Srimad Bhagavatam. In conclusion, our actual position is that of a spiritual sparks, full of light. Now we are temporarily covered by this illusory energy, Maya, which is dictating us. Acting under the influence of Maya, we are becoming more and more entangled in the material energy. The yoga system is meant to disentangle us, and the perfection of yoga is Krishna consciousness. Thus, Krishna consciousness is the most effective means by which we can disentangle ourselves from the influence of the material energy. Ribol. Okay, now let's go to six Astakam pairs. Cheto darpanamarjanam bhavamaha davagni nirvapanam Shreyah kairava chandrika vitaranam vidyavadu jivanam Anandam putivartanam pratipadam purnamritasvadanam Sarvatma snapanam param vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam Namnamakari bahudani ja sarva shakti statrarpitani amita smaranena kala एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन्मापि दैवमितिर्समिहा जनिनानुरगः त्रिनादपि सुनीचेन तरोरपि सहिष्णुना अमानिना मानदेन कीर्तनीया सदा हरि नतनं न जनं न सुन्दरीं कवितां वा जगदीशकामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवताद्भक्तिरहैतुकी त्वयि ऐनन्दतनुजा किङ्करं पतिता मां विषमे भवाम्बुधौ कृपा तव पादपङ्कजा स्थितधूलिसदृशं विचिन्तया नयनं गलदश्रुधारया वदनं गद्गदहृदया गिरा पुलकर्निचितं वपुः कदा तव नाम गृहणे भविष्यति युगायितं निमेषेण चक्षुषा प्राविर्ष्यायितं शून्यायितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दविरहेण मे आश्लिष्य वा पादरतं पिनष्टु माम् अदर्शनान् मर्महतां करोतु वा यथा तथा वा विधातु लम्पतो मत्रान्तस्तु स एव नापरः. Translation. Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling our separations, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Sri Siksastakam ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Panchadattva ki jai, Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Jagat Guru Shila Bhaktivedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande. Hri